Okay, I think we are live. Oh no, we're not live yet. Are we? If you can hear me, see me, just let me know and we'll get this started. Hi, how are you? Gringeo, did I pronounce that properly? Gringeo, Gringo, is it? Excellent. Things are really well, thank you. I'm glad that I had just a weird little moment then, and I couldn't tell everything was working. It looked like we were paused. Um, oh, I'm glad you can hear me. That's good. So we can get this started. Hello, if you are with me. Um, I'm going to obviously talk to you all back and forth. I just want to say if I butcher anybody's name today, please do just tell me off because yeah, because I can't always tell how I'm supposed to pronounce you. Excellent. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Hatham. How are you? Um, I'm going to say Cherry. How are you? Excellent. Sue, I don't know if Sue's still with us. She was with us a little minute ago when we were just chatting before I went live. Amanda's here. Hi, Amanda. How are you? Um, yeah, just want to say welcome. I'm so glad you come to Hangout again. I had so much fun doing this live stream last month that I thought we would make it like a regular thing, at least once a month. Just come on and I'll try and answer any questions you might have, or I'll just talk about different things. Hey Scott, I'm really good. Thank you so much for asking. I've had a very full day today, so I'm a little tired, but kind of like a rewarding day. Kaylin, how are you? Good to see you. Excellent. Hi, Sue. I'm glad you're still here. So I put a poll out weeks ago asking about if we should make this like a subject or if we should just kind of do a bit of a free for all. People seem to vote for wanting to talk about relapses, about preventing them, about recovery from them. So we can definitely do that. But you know, if there's anything else that you just want me to sort of chat about whilst I'm here, then I'm more than happy to do that. We've got plenty of time, so all is good. It was very nice. I enjoyed it a lot. I'd be one of really umpteenth day today. Done 19 hours. That's excellent. Congratulations, Goldilocks. 19 hours is good going. It's always the first day, I think, that really sort of is the test. Then if we can get through that first day, things are going to start picking up. Hello, how are you? Good evening. 3 months smoke free. Yes. Come on. How good is that? I can believe that you survived it. Absolutely, I can. Bigger things are happening around me. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't know if that sounds quite ominous. Is that a good thing or not? Yeah, I'm so glad for everyone, whether it's 19 hours, 19 months, 19 weeks, just being on this journey. Uh, can I take Champix if I have bipolar? So this is probably not the answer that you want, Nathan, but I'm not sure. That sounds like something that you might need to speak to your doctor about. I did do the Champix review like years ago now, and I know that it does. There is some links to, or originally I think there were some links between Champix and depression, and then they kind of got discredited. But I don't know enough about bipolar, and I don't know about what kind of medical advice is recommended. So I would absolutely say on that one, you know, anything to do with medication or anything like that, it's always good to speak to a doctor about it. I do appreciate that's probably not the answer that you were looking for, but I'd rather say that than say yeah it's fine and then you know something awful happened to you. 6 months anniversary of going smoke free. That's amazing. Congratulations on that. Keep up the good work. Let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with it. There is absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with us. We're all human beings, like you say, human beings, rewarding ourselves by giving ourselves a second chance at life. I find myself saying that so often lately, is that we get a second chance at life when we quit smoking. And, you know, we get not just all the health benefits, but I found personally just a deeper sense of well-being. And I've talked in the last two videos about, depression and mental health. Absolutely. Yeah, so I've spoken a lot in the last two videos about depression and mental health, and it was always the case for me that I felt so bad, and I would kept trying to change the way that I felt with different things and finding that none of it worked. Self-medicating all the time, that's exactly correct. There was no amount of alcohol in my life that was ever going to fill that aching void. There was never enough cigarettes in the world that were going to make me feel better. We might use cigarettes to change the way that we feel, but I don't think they ever made me feel better. They just made me feel different. And often when I think about it now, that's actually, a lot worse. Hi Jojo, how are you doing? So really good to see you again. Starting to stop again tomorrow. I totally believe depression is worse when smoking. Yeah, that's what I found a lot when I was doing my research in this, because I kind of casually knew there was a link, but I wasn't entirely, confident enough to come out and say that. But yeah, absolutely. Now that I've, dove into it, and I can think of, it makes so much sense when I can now think about my own depression within the context of quitting smoking. Apart from when I first quit and I had that post-quit kind of just, ugh, it wasn't a miracle cure for me. I can't, I'm careful not to say quit smoking and you'll never be depressed again, because that wasn't my personal experience. But I found that, I think I said this in the video I posted on Thursday, any symptoms of depression that I have now have been less severe, less intense, and lasted for a lot less longer time. So it definitely makes a difference. Well, thank you so much, Kayleen. I really love hearing things like that. I'm so glad that you found something positive out of these videos. Every time I come up to my camera and start talking, I'm always like, okay, I need to say I want to say something that isn't just, me rambling on something that's, you're going to get something valuable from the video. So I'm always really pleased when that happens. Hey, Vicky's here. Hi, Vicky. Yes, Vicky is the moderator of our Finding Freedom Facebook group. Vicky, I say this to you all the time, I'm sure, but I really do appreciate everything that you do for us. I'm really proud of our community of Finding Freedom. People, like I say every week, people all different stages of their journey coming together to celebrate the successes, but also help each other through the times when things are not going so well. Yeah, so it's something that I've said this before, but Finding Freedom really does mean a lot to me, even if I don't check in as much as I would maybe like to. I think one of the ideas for me was knowing what I'm like with social media. I'm not that good at it. So I thought, because when I first started, I was getting a lot of messages, and I always try to respond to people. But I thought, if I'm unavailable or if I'm just not able to reply to someone, at least there's got to be a group there where people do have someone, to turn to, even if it's not necessarily me. Smoke and drinks always seem to go together like the evil twin sisters. I agree, and I think drinking is so problematic when quitting smoking, because it's not just that alcohol will trigger a craving for a cigarette. It's that if we're drunk, our inhibitions are low. Why am I not taking deep breaths? I will take a deep breath in a moment. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so when we drink, our inhibitions are low. So it's not just that we're triggered for a cigarette; it's that it's very much harder to make a good decision about not taking those cigarettes. There's the first deep breath. There will maybe many more. Yeah. The thing with the deep breaths, I made that video about it. Is when I start doing my videos, I start really calm, and then I get very, very excited about what I'm talking about, and I can feel like my mouth just going at 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got to do this, and then my arms start flapping around, and sometimes it's just nice to just, okay, Christopher, do this calmly and sensibly. Cigarettes are a scam, I think. Should I quit coffee if I am trying to quit smoking? That's all going to depend on your how you react to coffee. I absolutely felt like quitting coffee, even temporarily, was the right thing for me to do because it was a big trigger for me. And I found that every morning I would wake up and I kept going and drinking my cup of coffee, and it made it so much harder for me to stay away from a cigarette. So I absolutely had to cut it out of my life whilst I quit. And then I was able to reintroduce it later on. I still don't drink coffee half as much as I used to, but I'm able to now, but only because it doesn't trigger me. Jenna, hi Chris. Hi Jenna, I'm really glad that you're with us. Yeah, absolutely. Keep taking those deep breaths. It really does do us a lot of good. And it is more difficult, I think, if we live with someone who smokes, and if they have no intentions of quitting. I think some people can be quite compassionate and that they don't necessarily want to quit, but they will be respectful to others, and some people don't, and that's not a criticism of them. It's just it is absolutely an extra challenge to deal with. But I completely have every faith in you, Jenna, that you will do this, and you'll find a way to coexist. Learn how to knit on YouTube for something to do with my hands whilst quitting Apple. That's a great thing. I think the thing with distractions and having things to do with our hands or our bodies or whatever it is, I think it's always more beneficial to have a distraction that is something that we genuinely enjoy and that inspires a kind of sense of passion almost within us, or something that is deeply fulfilling. I again, I'm going back to other videos that I've made, but if I say, okay, well, I'm really craving for a cigarette, so I'm going to go and wash my car, and I don't really enjoy washing my car. It doesn't bring me any kind of satisfaction. So then I'm washing it, and all the time I'm thinking I'm just doing this because I don't want a cigarette, and then therefore I'm still thinking about the cigarettes. Where I think the kind of distractions that work the most are those that are going to really absorb our energy and our attention, and really, that kind of thing where we get into like a flow state almost, and time passes without us realizing it. My journal, the first year, I got so angry about smoke. Yeah, I think it's a very emotional experience, and I think we go through a lot of the same stages that we go through, breaking up a relationship, or having something end in our lives, because when we quit smoking, it is an ending in a sense, in the best possible way, and the start of something new. So I think we get a lot of emotions, and I can absolutely understand all that anger about all aspects of smoking. I'm kind of reading your comments here and wondering if that's anger about, I can't believe all the things that I've done to myself because of cigarettes, and that was where the anger came from. But I'm really glad that you turned it into gratitude. And I think I say this all the time, but to approach this quit with absolute, the most self-compassion that we can find. At some point in our lives, we must have truly believed that that smoking served a purpose, or else we would have never done it. And then it turned out, that it really didn't serve any purpose. But we kept doing it for a while, and now we have this absolutely amazing opportunity to realize this is doing nothing for us, and we can get rid of it. I'm just scrolling up because I missed a couple of comments. Changing your smoking associations before stopping helps in the long run. Absolutely. And there's loads of exercises and visualizations you can do about, changing your associations. I did one a couple of years ago. I put the video up about start learning to associate cigarettes with just the most awful things you can think of, the most foul smelling, foul tasting, most disgusting stuff. And that really helped me. Again, it wasn't a magical cure for quitting smoking. Yeah, I found that there wasn't one particular thing that did it other than my own mindset. But a lot, tagging on a lot of different things, certainly, it was like building the whole package, and that what helped me through. Just hit 1,000 hours smoke-free. Excellent. Well done, Lorenlio. Did I pronounce that properly? 1,000 hours. I'm so pleased for you. I'm so happy for you. And I'm really glad that something I've said has helped you. And think you didn't have to quit the coffee. I actually appreciate it more now. Yeah, exactly. That's what. No, I don't vape, and I never did. I tried vaping a couple of times when I was quitting smoking, and I think it was the similar thing that lots of people did. That I'll try this instead, and it never worked for me. I never got the same feeling from vaping that I did from cigarettes. So I gave all my vape stuff away when I was quitting smoking. I remember times that I'd like pretty much suck on a vape pen all day and then still want a cigarette afterwards. So I didn't bother. Yeah, that comment there about the coffee, that's what I'm talking about. Like, everybody is different. So I can say, for me, coffee was an issue. For some people, it might not be, and that's perfectly okay. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing? Really good to see you. It's why I think I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about, on a particular subject, they were saying there are no shoulds. Like, there was no hard and fast rules for this thing that they were talking about. And I think that very much applies. I mean, obviously you could say there's one should, like we shouldn't smoke because of all the terrible things it does and all the things that we gain from it. But it's not a case of necessarily you should quit smoking and you should do this. It's all about figuring out what is going to be the most effective way for you to have a successful quit. If I said it's fine to keep drinking coffee and you kept drinking it, and every time you drank the coffee you'd end up smoking again, well, it's time to put down the coffee, at least temporarily. Again, something I talk about all the time. If we want to get to the other side of a wall and we think, well, I'm just going to run head first into this wall and smash through it, that doesn't work. If we just do it again, we're just going to get a headache, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to do us more harm. At some point, we have to say, okay, I'm going to go and get a ladder or walk around. Melissa, I'm glad that you're with us. I hope you're safe if you're driving and listening to this at the same time. I know I spoke to you on Facebook saying you had a long trip. So I hope you're safe, and I hope you're well. Vaping was useless. I'm with you on that. Vaping was useless for me too. What tattoos do I have? No, I can tell you. I don't know how to show you properly. So this one here was the first one. It says stepping stones. So one time when I was in a really bad place in my life, a friend told me, Chris, today is just a stepping stone to better things. And I loved that so much. And it really kind of like, it was something that I still hold as an important message in my life. Today is a stepping stone to better things. So I got that tattooed on that wrist. And then on this wrist, I got the words "Let It Be," which obviously from the Beatles. So it's my favourite Beatles song, "Let It Be." And now that I've got them both, I kind of, it's like a version of the Serenity Prayer, which I really didn't intend to do. So if there is something that I can change and I can do something about it, take it one stepping stone at a time. I don't have to tackle the whole universe today. I don't have to tackle my entire life. I just take it one stepping stone at a time. And if there is something that is absolutely beyond my power, then I let it be. And my only other tattoo is this one, which is the Egyptian Ankh symbol, but done in a kind of Celtic style. That's my favourite one. Yeah, so that's Chris's tattoos in a nutshell. Um, Smoking close to 30 years, traded. Smoking for vaping, vape. Completely smoke free and vape free for 2 years. That's I can definitely read that part. Lincoln Lane, well done to you. That's amazing. Tried the gum, that was a no-no for me. Yeah, the gum didn't really work for me either. Nicotine replacement is just prolonging the addiction. Yeah, there is definitely that argument. I'm not morally against. You're very welcome. I'm not morally against nicotine replacement. I just think it needs to be used properly. I think the idea behind it, if that as I understand it, and the idea behind nicotine replacement that makes the most sense to me is we have to think about quitting smoking, as a multifaceted issue. So there is the mental side of things, and there is the physical addiction to nicotine, coupled with the mental habit and the mental responding to every situation with a cigarette. So I think that what nicotine replacement does is it gives us the freedom to tackle the mental side of things without having to so much worry about the physical side. And then when we've got the mental side down, we can tackle get rid of the nicotine replacement too. And then there's the, deal with the cravings and withdrawals separately. But I get that's not the most appropriate, approach to quitting smoking for everybody. And I do absolutely think there's a lot of value in just saying, I'm done with this and going cold turkey. I loved your video where you told us not to think of it as forever, just today while we watched your video. Yeah, it's literally without trying to get all weirdly spiritual or anything, but today is literally all we have, from taking our head off the pillow in the morning to putting our head back on the pillow in the evening. It's the only bit of time we can really control, and control's maybe not the right word, but it's the only time that we can. I've got myself on the screen. I'm just watching my own arms flailing around. It's very distracting, isn't it? I'm really sorry. Yeah, so the only bit of time that we have is today. So let's just tackle that. And like I say, if a day seems overwhelming, because a day is still a long period of time, let's deal with until this morning, until lunchtime, until dinner time. And then we can just make that same decision over again. For me, the first step to being free from smoking was making the conscious decision, conscious choice to treat myself well. It was not an easy journey, but it was 100% worth. Absolutely. It's that realization of I deserve better than this. I deserve better than the way I've been treating myself. I remember saying in a very early video, what is going on, why do I have so little respect and so little value for myself that when something bad happens, I respond to it by attacking myself with poison and chemicals and choking my lungs? It makes absolutely no sense. Why do I hate myself so much that I'm prepared to physically destroy myself? Well, I don't. I don't hate myself that much, and I don't need to physically destroy myself. I realize that I am worthy and I have value and I deserve better. And I can treat myself with the same kindness and compassion that I would treat another human being. If there was somebody that I love sat next to me right here, I wouldn't dream of choking them and poisoning them and destroying their body from the inside out. I wouldn't dream of doing that because I love and care for them. So I treat myself with that same compassion. It made me want to quit was more teach me to try new things. And then I say impacted my desire to quit. And that's really important. I feel like I talk about it a little bit more than maybe other people, but I think in general it's not something that gets talked about much. We talk about quit smoking and you won't get cancer, or quit smoking and you won't smell, and quit, and all those things are definitely valid, but to think about how much time we save, and the money is nice. To be honest, the money was never a big motivator for me. I was just so destroyed that I needed to quit smoking, and having the extra money was nice for me, but it can be a big motivator. I remember I worked out once how long, how much money not money, how much time we spend smoking. It was like a couple of hours. I feel like I just keep saying in that video, but I did make a video about that. While quitting, I got rid of the toxic people in my life too. It got so clear. Absolutely. Yeah, get rid of toxic people and toxic triggers, and yeah, I think that's the thing when I quit for me, is it was about so much more than just not putting cigarettes in my mouth. It was such a huge, oh my God, the way I've been treating myself has been awful, and now I can treat myself better in so many ways, and that does mean no longer inviting all that toxicity into my life. I love one of my first videos. I'm basically smoking against my own will. I totally was. I really was. Wow. I remember those days. It was just like, I hate doing this. I really hate doing this. And yet some bizarre compulsion to keep doing it. It's funny, I've got another video coming out in a couple of days, or maybe I'll probably just post it tomorrow, called What Are We Really Giving Up? We talk about giving up cigarettes. What we're really giving up is we're giving up smelling bad, we're giving up all the coughing, we're giving up all of the crap that comes with smoking. And one of the big things that I think we give up is the sense of conflict. I think it's one of the reasons why I called the Facebook group Finding Freedom, is we get freedom not just from cigarettes, but from that conflict that we can go through, towards the tail end of our quit, when we no longer want to smoke, and yet we're still doing it anyway. And there's this mad pull between the two sides of don't want to, going to do it, don't want to, going to do it. And that can be torture. So one of the things that we give up is that sense of conflict, and then its place becomes this sense of freedom. Making stupid excuses to smoke. Oh, absolutely. My shoelace snapped, and now I need a cigarette. Yeah, I think for me, at one point, there was no difference for me between a broken shoelace and a broken heart. Like, everything was just a reason to smoke. And again, one of the things we gain is that we no longer need to do that, and I can put my emotions and my emotional responses to things in some kind of proper context and look at how things really are. I would purposely get myself worked up and pissed off because then that meant I get to have a cigarette. So it wasn't just toxic people outside of me. I was actively, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I was actively cultivating negative feelings within me because that meant, well, I feel bad now, so I need a cigarette. Um, you know, Again, there's no logic to that. 1 year of cigarettes, $2,700. Oh my goodness, that's so expensive. I didn't realize like how expensive cigarettes had gotten in the last couple of years. I seem to think when I was quitting, I think I was paying £6, £7 for a packet of 20, and I was like smoking the cheapest cigs that I could get that weren't basically a piece of paper. And I remember being in a shop down the street getting something else, and the person in front of me was getting cigarettes, and they were paying like over £10. That's insane. Being at negative people went hand in hand with quitting smoking. Couldn't be around a lot of people. Yeah. Once you quit, it does get better for sure. I saw somebody just post the word self-sabotage, and yeah, that's what it basically came down to, all of that. Constantly responding to every problem with a cigarette and making things worse and worse and worse. Yeah, the negative people thing. One of the things I've revisited a couple of times is to do with running. So I remember years and years ago, I hadn't even started running at this point, and I was telling some friends of mine, I was in London when the London Marathon was on, and it was really exciting, and I want to run the London Marathon. And all of my friends said to me, "You will never run a marathon." And now I'm like, well, now I've run 2 marathons, and those people are no longer my friends. And it wasn't because I went, okay, well, if you don't think I'm going to run a marathon, I'm never going to talk to you again. But that was their attitude towards me and towards anybody doing anything positive in their lives. So it was only a matter of time before, in a sense, I outgrew those people and got, a sense of my own self-worth and thought, you know what, I am going to do this. How did you choose to stop drinking and when? Hi Zoe, really good to see you. Thank you for videos and book me. Oh, I'm really glad. To answer your question, Melissa, I tried quitting drinking a couple of times. Once was in my early 20s. I was married for a time, but I was also really struggling with my depression and didn't know how to do it. I wasn't getting the kind of support from the National Health Service here in England that I expected to get, or that I would have liked to have get. And I was too young and too in a state to know how to properly help myself. By the way, can you all still hear me? Because it says the audio stream's current bitrate is 0. That doesn't sound good. I'll just keep talking and let me know if you can't hear me. So I was self-medicating to help my depression and realized it wasn't doing any good. And then, like I say, I was in my early to mid 20s. My ex-wife was the same, and she couldn't handle it. And I don't blame her at all. Like I've spoken to her a few times since, and we've kind of hashed it out. So I tried quitting and I couldn't, and that relationship ended. And then it was a couple of years later, it was a similar thing. I was still trying to self-medicate because I didn't know how to properly deal with my own mental health. I didn't know how to deal with my own emotions. I didn't know how to deal with life. And it was kind of like, well, I'm just going to drink. And I found it never got me any else. Oh, I'm glad you can hear me loud and clear. That's excellent. Thanks so much for letting me know. So I'm kind of rambling this answer. So it was around 2013 and realized that I was miserable and I had no money. I was physically, mentally, spiritually, financially just broken. I was living in this little tiny box room at my parents' house in my late 20s, just looking awful. And at the time, I wasn't necessarily blaming the alcohol for it. I just knew that I was never going to ever get any kind of health or any kind of happiness or any kind of well-being if I was drinking. So I quit drinking. And it was a couple of years before I then quit smoking. Just want to say thank you for the pep talk. It's keep me away from cigs. I'm so glad that you found them helpful. I really am. Right to hating smoking but still doing it. Yeah, like that sense of I'm doing this and I don't want to. What are my opinion on antidepressants for life? Again, that's a very personal thing for each person. For me, I'm a couple of not last year, the year before, I went back on antidepressants because I was kind of struggling and it seemed to make the most sense to me at the time. But now I'm back off my antidepressants and feeling really good. I'm not like clinging by the skin of my teeth to my mental well-being. I think antidepressants can be useful, but I'm not so sure that I don't like the idea personally for me of being stuck on medication for my entire life. And it's funny, I had an appointment with my therapist yesterday. We were talking about my mental health and the kind of journey to get to where I am. And the thing that inspired me to lose weight, quit smoking, retrain to be a therapist myself was going to see my doctor for my mental health and telling them all of these things that you've done for me haven't worked. So we need to take another approach. And their answer was, well, no, we're just going to do the same thing again. And just feeling so let down and so frustrated. And I remember walking home that day and I can tell you the exact spot and the exact street where I was when a thought came to my mind, if nobody else is going to help me with this, I'm just going to have to do it myself. And it was such a big just a moment of clarity and epiphany, light bulb moment, whatever you want to call it, that I'm just going to have to do this myself. And that was the catalyst to start eating better, get rid of the cigarettes, start doing some exercise, all that stuff. So I'm catching up with the comments. Hi, Kathy. It's good to see you too. I'm really glad that you're with us. £10 a day, £3,650 per year. Wow, that's so expensive. It really is. And we paid that money for nothing, right? We don't, of all the things that we tell ourselves that we gain from cigarettes, we absolutely don't. There's nothing. If you put a cigarette, I was going to say, well, this is not a plug, it's just the book is the closest thing I have to hand. If I put this book here on my knee, it has absolutely no power over me whatsoever. If I pick it up and hit myself over the head, then it's going to start doing me some damage. So all those cigarettes are full of crap and poison. They are powerless. They don't do anything until we pick them up and give them that power. Into smoking too. It's just so hard for me sometimes. I feel so overwhelmed. Oh, thank you, Kelly. That's very In my next video, I'm going to tell you, hello, my name is Chris, and today let's talk about scrambled eggs. And I'll tell you all about them. My friend asked me if I was going to be able to go smoke in my car. Yeah. Speaking of the book, I am just going to plug it. It's a really good book. There is a chapter about other people and their reactions to the way that we change when we smoke. Hey Montana, really good to see you. I'm glad that you're with us. I think the thing with friends who don't support us when we quit smoking is it's not necessarily that they are actively being arseholes and that they want us necessarily to fail. I think it's just that they themselves don't know how to support us or what to say or what to do. And of course there are going to be some people who are arseholes. The people who told me that I can't run a marathon, bunch of wankers. Sorry for my language, but they are. I'm so much better off without them. But I think some people just don't know. So for some people it reminds them of that thing that they're not doing. It might not necessarily be that they want to quit smoking, but there's something in their life that is a big goal for them. And when we approach our own goals, then that reminds them, oh crap, I'm not doing this goal myself. And then they don't know how to respond. How much is the book? Is it £9 in print or $9 and a couple of, I really should know, shouldn't I? To be honest. If you just go to Amazon, with your local Amazon, and type in quit smoking, be happy, it comes up there. It shouldn't be more than £10 or more, or $10 wherever you are. Yeah, I think we all have a bunch of wankers in our lives, but when we gain our own self-respect back and we gain our own self-worth back, then we can move on from that. Sorry, my throat was getting a little dry. Let's take a deep breath. Feels better, doesn't it? I'm caught up with all the comments, man. Really disappointed. Yeah, like I say, I think if people are disappointed and if people aren't, behind us 100 ways, one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life, and one of the most important things that I carry with me, is that the way we treat people says more about us than it does that other person. So if somebody isn't being supportive, if somebody is being negative about it, that's not about you, it's not about me, it's about them. That's why I don't know if anyone, I don't think it got that many views, to be honest. I made the, hey, how you doing? Cherry, it's good to see you. So, I've spoke to you already in this, haven't I? You've been here a while, I'm really sorry. Yeah, so I made the video, what about when everybody we meet is an arsehole, right? If I wake up and the first person I meet is just the worst person and they're really bad towards me, then maybe that person is a bit of an arse, right? And maybe that person is a bit of a bad person. If then the second person I meet is also treating me badly and being really negative, then could be a coincidence. But if everybody I meet is acting negatively towards me, then I've got to change that. There's got to be something in that. You've all gone very quiet in the comments. I hope everyone's okay. I'm just going to show you something because it just happens to be sat here next to my laptop. This is my jar. I'm calling it my best thing jar. I've got a few days that I need to put in there, but what I do, this is not a new idea by any means. It's something that I kind of like took from somebody else. Hi Linda, really good to see you. Like that I took from somebody else, where they say, get a jar, and every time that you're grateful for something, put it in the jar. And I liked that idea, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently. So I got this jar and I got some post-it notes. And at the end of every day, I challenge myself to think about what's been the best thing about today. And I write it down on a post-it and I pop it in this jar. And the reason I do that rather than just things that I'm grateful for is because sometimes I can get through like an entire day, not feel like anything's happened, not feel like it's been a particularly good day. I can even be in a shit mood, to be honest with you. But if I get to the end of the day and I start to think about, okay, what's been the best thing about today? It gets me reflecting and gets me back in that positive mindset. And sometimes, the best thing is, well, I went for a run and it was good, or I had a nice conversation. Anytime that I see my little niece, she's automatically the best thing about that day. So I just thought I'd tell you that why it's there. Friends also get scared that we're moving on and choosing ourselves and be afraid of change and what it means. Absolutely, I totally agree for that. Mr. 1987-22 on patch day 1, feeling positive, 6 make no sense. So, but 7 years I find this worse. Ronan, absolutely. Again, I'm totally with you. I found quitting smoking to be so much more difficult than quitting alcohol, and I never, ever in a million years imagined that to be true. I'm kind of glad that I did that because, I'm kind of glad that it was worse, or else I wouldn't be here and doing this. The whole reason that I thought I've got to get back to doing anything like this is, if it was so hard for me, my experiences were for something. People tell me that something I've said has helped them, so my quit was worth it because it gave me the experience. Did you ever get a moment where you're curious to what a cigarette would be like again? Not really. I think one of the personal things that I get from this is that I spend, half an hour every week talking about how bad cigarettes are. And as I'm doing this, I'm vividly imagining, I can remember very clearly what smoking was like for me. I remember how awful I felt, how dirty I felt. I had this real feeling of being a dirty person when I smoked. So I don't get curious about what it'd be like because I have an idea. I will sometimes get intrusive thoughts that seem to come from absolutely nowhere and just go like, go on, have a cigarette. I'll tell you this, I don't mind telling you this because I don't think it means that there's anything wrong with me or I've kind of somehow failed you all. I was out for a walk. When was it? Was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. I was out for a walk and somebody had discarded a cigarette on the floor, but like like they'd only smoked like a quarter of it. And in the flash of my mind went, pick that up and smoke it. Like, but then straight away, what? No, don't do that. That would be like saying, you flash your private parts to this car that's flashing and then run out in the middle of the road. No, don't do that, right? It was just the most bizarre thought. But it was one of those things that came and it wasn't like I went, yeah, that's a good idea. I think if I ever start thinking it's a good idea, then that's problematic. Hi Capricorn, so good. So I'm so glad that you could make it. I'm so glad that you're here with us. You need to motivate me to lose weight now. You can absolutely do that, Linda. You really can. Again, for me, smoking was the catalyst to bigger and better things. But yeah, just to very quickly go back to that, am I ever never curious? Occasionally, I'll get the most bizarre, random, have a cigarette, intrusive thoughts, and they're so very easy to just go, no, I'm not going to do that. And I think intrusive thoughts are natural as well. I think if I was having them all the time and it was getting to be problematic and I couldn't shake it, then maybe I'd be concerned, but every now and again, I have intrusive thoughts occasionally, like a healthy amount about all kinds of things. Yeah, I think that's like, it can be linked to stress and anxiety. We get all kinds of things going on that don't necessarily mean anything negative, that we somehow failed or anything like that. It's why I was saying about, was it last month I was talking about dreams? So I think one of the reasons behind smoking dreams is, for so long we dealt with every stressful situation with a cigarette. If we're going through some stress, even if we're not conscious of that stress at the time, when we go to bed at night and we get into REM sleep, our brains can start trying to figure out answers for us. Okay, here's how you can deal with the stress when you wake up. Here's how you always used to deal with it, smoking. So I'll show you smoking in the form of a dream. Maybe I have to stop drinking first and then try to quit smoking. Do it whichever way round works for you. What's the biggest problem at the minute? And it is drinking. If drinking is getting in the way of this quitting smoking. Bye, Hatham. Really nice to have you with us. And there's that. And in terms of losing weight, it's the same approach. I think the same approach to quitting smoking works for losing weight and works for whatever goal it may be. Take it one step at a time. Be kind. Find something that's going to work for you personally. I can sit here all day and tell you about how awesome running is, and I love running, and I've lost weight because of running, and it's great. But if you go for running and it's the worst thing you've ever done, then don't do it, right? Find something that is useful for the exercise. One thing that does help keep me motivated in terms of healthy living and in terms of exercises, I always call it like the least resistance. So again, I'm sorry for talking about running so much, but if I want to go for a run, if I think I should go for a run because I've not done any exercise for a while, but I don't really want to, like I just can't be bothered, what I'll tend to say to myself, well, okay, is you don't need to do the same number of miles that you normally do. Go out and run 1 mile. And I think, okay, I can run 1 mile. It'll take me 10 minutes. It's not, it's not that hard to do. So that is my only commitment. That's my only obligation. And then I get out, and then I generally find by the time I've done 1 mile, I want to do 2 or 3 more. But I'll always go the path of, the least resistance, and let's bring this back on topic. But in terms of smoking, it's the same thing. The idea, oh God, I just can't face quitting smoking even all day. So what is the thing that I'm going to put up the least resistance to? An hour, 10 minutes, whatever the case may be. So I hope that's helpful. How did I deal with insomnia? I think my thing was to kind of lean into. I had a weird thing with my sleep where very early on I couldn't sleep, and then the further I got into my journey, all I could do was sleep. I was so tired, like all the time. Thaddeus, and good to see you, by the way. I don't know if you've already seen the video that I made a couple of years ago on insomnia. If not, if you go onto my channel and type in insomnia, I'm sure it'll come up. But that's everything that I know about insomnia goes into that. I think one thing, I was actually just talking to someone, doing some like private sessions with someone. We were talking about cutting down sugar, cutting down caffeine, doing more. Yeah, it's all the basic stuff. Do a little bit more exercise. and kind of just lean into that sense of I'm not ready to sleep right now, and then when I am, let it, let nature take its course, kind of thing. But again, I get that that's not a suitable. I can't say, well, just sleep when you're ready, but then you've got to get up for 6 in the morning. I found that takeaways don't taste the same. Not so yummy. Everything changes when we quit, doesn't it? Do I think dopamine levels decrease when we stop smoking? I think my understanding of what happens with dopamine is so when we smoke, we get the little dopamine bit. We get that, instantly everything in the cigarette runs up, hits the nicotine receptors. We get a quick of dopamine, but then it kind of goes away again just as quickly. So the more we smoke, the more of these little constant hits of dopamine we're getting. And as I understand it, what then happens in our brain is that our brain's ability to naturally produce dopamine is decreased. It's like if there's a factory that produces dopamine in our brain, they lay off half the workers and production shrinks. So that can be why then when we quit smoking, we're not getting anything from cigarettes, plus the dopamine factories closed for business in our brains. So that's why, we can get that high level of depression. The good news is when we do quit smoking, the brain gets used to the fact that we no longer smoke. It brings all the workers back, the dopamine factory kicks open again, and we start to feel better. Again, if you haven't seen the 2 videos I made this week and the week before about depression and smoking, I've covered that in a bit more detail in there. Paul, hi Chris, hope you're good. Just one question. I haven't smoked any tobacco in 333 days, but today I brought a dry herb vaporizer vaping weed after giving up for 4 months. Would I class you as I mean, personally, I would, but the question is, what's important to you? How do you feel about that? If you don't smoke, then you don't smoke. In fact, I would. Oh, I've lost. No, we're all good. I wouldn't class any of us as smokers in the kind of big picture kind of thing where I've said, it's not our identity. We are not smokers. We weren't born with cigarettes in our hands. Our basic needs are for food, shelter, and survival, not food, shelter, and survival and nicotine. So none of us are hardwired to smoke. But my question back to you, Paul, is how do you feel about being a non-smoker? Personally, I would, but that's just one person's opinion. 2 months after quitting, most things go back to normal. Sleep, absolutely. I think the time frame varies for different people. And there can be studies done that will show, it's 6 weeks or it's 2 months or it's this or it's that. And I think there is some like generalizations that we can make. But again, I'll speak to someone and they'll say, well, I quit smoking, and a week later everything was awesome. And then other people will say, it's been months and there's just something that I can't quite get. Quit for 48 days, still having dreams of smoking. Will this stop, or will I just have to get used to them? To be honest, again, this is probably not the answer you're looking for. I'm just going to say, learn to live with those. If those dreams are problematic for you, and you're waking up in a cold sweat, then that might be something that we need to address. If it's just that you're waking up and going, "Oh, I had a dream about smoking," it's not going to do you any. A dream isn't going to do you any harm. I will still have dreams about smoking occasionally. Again, a lot of it is when I am stressed Sometimes I don't even realize I'm stressed until I've had a dream about smoking, and then I can sort of figure out what is going on. But they're generally not problematic. Like I say, if you're waking up in cold sweats and it's a nightmare situation for you, then yeah, absolutely. That might be something that we need to look at what's going on for you. So much stronger being a non-smoker. Yeah, me too. Me too, Melissa. I think that's a very important thing to say is the very act, the very process of quitting smoking makes us stronger. Think about what we go through. Whether you find it an absolute breeze, which I'm assuming most people don't find it an absolute breeze if they're here, but I don't know. Whether we find it a breeze or whether it's just the most challenging thing we've ever had to do, the fact that we do it and we persevere and we emerge on the other side, anytime something happens in life, we can think, hang on, I got through quitting smoking. That means I can absolutely 100% get through this too. So we've been chatting for about an hour. I'm really having a great time. I'm not going to say, okay, that's it, bye. We'll stick around for about another 5-10 minutes maybe, if there's anyone. Can you have a free book? If you've got, what's it called? Amazon, whatever it is for the ebooks, it is free. If you have does anyone know what I'm talking about? The thing where you subscribe to Amazon and they give you free books. What was the best thing about my day today? Two things. I saw my niece this morning, and like I said, anytime I see my niece, she automatically goes in the jar. The other thing is getting to talk to you all. Like I say, I read every comment, and sometimes I'm reading them and don't reply, and it's not because I think, I can't be asked replying to you. It's just what's going on in my mind at the time. So it's nice to be able to just connect with you all properly. So yeah. So no, it's not Audible. It's Kindle. Yeah, the Kindle, whatever it is. I think the book is still free on that. Yeah, Joel has some really good. Joel emailed me once and I never replied to him. See, this is what I mean about I don't reply to people and I should. Yeah, so if anyone happens to speak to Joel, will you tell him that Chris Scoyle's read his email and needs to reply to him? Am I in lockdown? I am until tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? No, Monday things change. So Monday we can hang out in groups of 6. I'm in a bubble. We got support bubbles. Like you're allowed to link up with one of the houses in the times. Yeah, Amazon Prime. That's the one. So I was able to go and see my niece, and it was all perfectly safe and above board, honestly. And then from Monday, I think we're allowed to go mix in groups of 6. And then in April 12th, the shop's open and the hairdresser's open. I have a haircut appointment booked for the day all the shops open. I can't wait because this is getting very hard to manage. I'll end up looking like in my other videos. The guitar playing is going okay. I don't even think it's in tune at the minute. I really need... No, I would like to play my guitar more. I've got to sort of be mindful about saying oh, I should and I need to. Well, I don't need to. I would like to play it more. But I'm enjoying it. I find guitar playing relaxes me, even if I'm not necessarily the best guitar player in the world, and that's fine. I don't have to be. I don't have to be the best at something. I don't even have to be good at something to enjoy it. The sake of enjoying it in itself is enough. Thanks, Paul. I'm really glad that you could be here. I'm really glad that you checked. I'm the same with all of you. I'm really glad that you come by. So we'll just do a couple more minutes. I don't know if anyone has any more questions. If not, we can always say goodbye now. That's fine by me. The guitar's all the way over there. It's not in tune. I know those sound like excuses. One day we will do a live stream and I'll play and sing. My counselling course is going okay. Is going as well as it can go in the middle of a pandemic. So I've got 10 weeks left of all the academic stuff, doing the assignments and doing all the theory and all the work. In order to be a qualified person-centered counsellor, what I need to do is I need to do 100 hours of actual counselling with real clients in like an agency setting, so like a charity or something. Oh, thank you. I'm very happy with, to me this channel's a big success to me. So I need to do those 100 hours of my placement. In order to do the placement, I had to pass a fitness to practice test, which I did. I think it was on like the 22nd of March 2020, and then on the 23rd of March we went into lockdown. And just the way things have been, I still haven't done a single hour yet. Thank you so much, Caitlin. I'm so glad that you are with us. Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, so my next plan is, as soon as things open up, I can finish doing my counselling course. And yes, if you guys want to hang out again, let's do, I don't know what's the last Saturday in April 24th. We'll do this again, yeah? That sounds good to me. I'm really glad that you were able to give up, and I'm very grateful and touched that I was able to be a small part of that. Okay, I think with that being said, I'll leave it there for today. Thank you all so much for coming out and spending some time with me. I'm really glad that you're all able to be here. There's still a little part of me that is humbled and surprised by the fact that you're all here. I'll turn my stream on and nobody will be here, and I'll have to just talk. So thank you so much for hanging out. I've got another video in my queue, so I'll upload that in a couple of days. Until I see you next time, be safe and be well. We'll do the next live stream April 24th. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye all.